Well, I thought maybe for the people listening is your background, of who you are. Just
Oh,
yeah, because I mean I'll write that on the your name and that, but I looked on the internet, I couldn't find much information on you, and Peter said
well,
you
I
could.
was kind of before there was an internet
Mm-hmm.
and before engineers got any kind of recognition.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I had maybe a dozen or so gold records, but you won't find my name anywhere.
Yeah.
And if I Google myself, I'll find my name associated with records I have no idea what they were. I mean, I did thousands of records, so I have no idea. I mean, 90% of them, are totally gone out of my memory.
Were you?
But all the things that I did have hits with,
Mm-hmm.
you don't find me.
Yeah.
Like I did a little bit of soul,
Mm-hmm.
music explosion. I
Mm-hmm.
did You'll Never Find. I did the mastering on that,
Wow.
the disc mastering.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
Like McFadden and Whitehead, I did their album.
Mm-hmm.
I think their first album.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
So most
I
was.
did all the Question Mark and the Mysterian, the three original albums that they had. The one thing I didn't do was 96 Tears,
Mm-hmm.
but I did,
That you were doing
you look
mostly.
hard enough.
Were you doing mostly mastering, or were you engineering bands, or
Well,
were you?
I did both. I worked for Cameo Parkway,
Mm-hmm.
and then I worked for Sigma Sound,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went to New York. I worked a little bit for A&R,
Mm-hmm.
and I worked for a small studio out on Long Island for a
Mm-hmm.
while. Then, when I came back to Philadelphia, I worked for Frankford Wayne Mastering Labs.
Oh, okay.
So I worked for Frankfurt Wayne from I think 1973 until early 1980s.
Okay. And now Frankfurt Wayne, was that in I mean, there was a room behind the A room. Uh,
Yeah.
that was
Well,
that.
it was actually in front.
Oh, okay. Yeah, in front of the A room.
Whereas
That was
Sigma Sound was behind Frankfurt Wayne.
yes. I got.
Uh,
But that's where it was. It wasn't any place else before that.
no, no, that well, no, actually, the genesis of that was Tom Steele
Mm-hmm.
had a little mastering facility, I think, in his parents' home
Mm-hmm.
on Pilling Street, and
Mm-hmm.
then there was Wayne Wilfong,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not sure the names, but Wayne Wilfong somehow hooked up with Tom Steele and merged and formed Frankfurt Wayne Mastering Labs.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys are both dead,
Oh.
and anyway, that's how that formed. And when they started, they were the first ones at 212 North 12th Street.
Oh. They were there
They were
before.
in the building, yeah, before Sigma.
Oh. Oh, that's interesting. So.
And Sigma bought Reco Art.
Oh. Okay. So.
So that was the recording studio in that building.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not exactly sure of the timeline,
Mm-hmm.
but Frankfurt Wayne was there, and then I think Joe bought Reco Art.
Mm-hmm.
There was an Emil Corson who owned that studio, and then there was Tony Luigi.
Hmm. But that was all on
I
the
can't.
second, all on the second
Yeah,
floor. There
that
was
was
stuff,
all on the second floor. The
nothing on the.
first floor, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
the first floor was some business thing, and I believe the building was some kind of manufacturing
Huh.
concern. Maybe textiles or something like that. I don't know.
Okay.
And there was this big manually operated elevator in the back. This big giant 2-inch rope,
Yeah.
that you pulled to raise and lower the elevator.
Mm-hmm.
That the rope would jump off the pulley once in a while, and that wasn't a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, I know. I remember seeing that but I didn't know the history before Sigma because they were at 1968 and on. So Reco Arts was before that. How long were they there for?
I really don't know, but I
Mm.
believe Cameo used them
Hmm.
for their recording.
I see.
So I would imagine, and I don't know this for sure, but I would guess that they did a lot of all the Cameo hits before they opened their own studio,
Hmm.
because they were at I think 1405 Locust Street. That's where the Cameo offices were,
Okay.
and they bought. They did their work at Reco Art, and they did their mastering at Bell Sound in New York.
Hmm. Okay.
Or at least when I was there, I remember one of the first things I did, my first assignments, was to take a record to Bell in New York City
Hmm.
for mastering. And I worked with a guy named Romeo, really nice guy,
Hmm.
and he actually wound up working for Frankford Wayne in New York
Oh, wow.
for a time. But
I didn't know
he was a
there.
good guy.
So there was a Frankfurt Wayne in Philadelphia and one in New York.
Yeah, there was.
And,
And actually, Tom was going to start another mastering lab in Miami.
uh-huh.
And I don't know what he was thinking, but even I knew that was not a good move because
Uh,
you've got the criteria down there,
yeah.
and you're just not going to take anything from them. you know?
All right.
But I think that died before it even opened.
So the Frankfurt Wayne in Philadelphia, you guys were established. You're doing business there, and then Sigma bought Reco Art, and they just took it over and just start recording, and that was that.
Yeah, there wasn't a very long time gap between those two incidents.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know exactly when Tom and Wayne set up shop at 212,
Mm-hmm.
but I can't remember the first time Tom Steele came into Cameo Parkway and was pitching his mastering, and he claimed that he could make a disc that sounded exactly like the master tape.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, great, that's exactly what I'm looking for,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because you sit there and you sweat blood with the producer
Mm-hmm.
mixing, and finally you get exactly what you want, and
Mm-hmm.
then it goes to mastering and they change it around. They do
Mm-hmm.
things to it that you didn't want done.
Yeah.
So I said, do that.
Yeah.
And he brought back, I gave him a tape. The reference sounded just like the tape. And I says, okay,
Well,
I got it.
that had to be great that Sigma was in the back and Frankfurt Wayne was the front. So when they finished a project, to take it right into Frankfurt Wayne, and people could listen to it, the disc being cut right there to make
Oh,
sure.
yeah, that was a great symbiotic relationship.
Yeah. Were there other big studios that did that, or Sigma was the first one doing that?
Well, most big studios had their own mastering facility.
Mm.
Like A&R had their own mastering. I think all the big studios had their own mastering facility.
Mm.
But they all eventually got out of it because it got more complicated, and Frankfurt Wayne was also one of the pioneers in we can make your record sound better.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
And they did that to me once, and I read them the riot act. They thought they were. I said, "Hey, I'm using you guys because you said you can give me exactly what's on my tape.
Yeah,
Now you
yeah,
went around and you screwed around with it,
yeah.
So they recut it the way I wanted.